Some brand new reporting in the New York Times today on a confrontation of sorts inside the White House between Elon Musk and several members of Donald Trump's new cabinet, with Donald Trump sort of reduced to the role of spectator. "You fired nobody," Musk told Rubio, then scornfully added that perhaps the only person he had fired was a staff member from his Department of Government Efficiency. Musk was unimpressed. He told Rubio he was, quote, good on TV, with the clear subtext being he wasn't good for much else. Where was Donald Trump in all this? The Times reports that he sat back as if he was watching a tennis match.
Welcome to the Ken Harbaugh Show. We've got part 2 of my interview with Stuart Stevens, co-founder of the Lincoln Project, about Elon Musk. It's a wild story. Before we get into it, I need to go on record and say I was wrong about how dangerous Elon Musk is. Shortly after the election, I published a piece arguing that Musk would not actually have that much power. I assumed that the structures of government, even when co-opted by the Trump machine, would hold more sway than an outsider with no real experience in how government operates. I put too much faith in things like official titles and job descriptions, and I thought that the real power centers would remain with institutions, even as corrupt as they would certainly become. That has not been the case. Just look at the emasculation of Marco Rubio, who, as Secretary of State, has found himself answering to an unelected billionaire with no mandate, no Senate confirmation, no official title. It's humiliating. Thankfully, we've got Stuart Stevens to help us understand some of Musk's weird backstory and how we wound up where we are. If I had to boil it all down, it's as simple as this. Elon might be weird and unfit for any role in government, but he's very, very rich. He may be odd and eccentric, but if there's one thing President Trump values above all else, it's money. That is why Elon Musk is his right-hand man, not because of competence or charisma, but because he has so much of the one thing in this world that Donald Trump worships. Here's Stuart Stevens kicking off part 2 with a story about Elon Musk from his early days at PayPal.
There's a guy named Michael Moritz who founded this Sequoia Capital. Michael's a fascinating person. Went to Oxford, was a financial journalist, kept meeting these people that he basically thought weren't that smart. They made lots and lots of money. He says, well, I could do this. Cut to 20 plus years later, he's a multi-billionaire, founded Sequoia Capital. He's done all this. So there's a scene in this book where Musk is on the board. He's sort of the adult on the PayPal board. So Musk had bought himself a McLaren sports car with like the first money he made, right? At the time, like a $75,000 or $175,000 car. He and Peter Thiel driving to Michael Moritz's office on Sand Hill Road in the Silicon Valley. This is just a suburban road, kind of a urban suburban road, right? There's nothing bad. Elon Musk manages to flip the McLaren on this, trying to impress Peter Thiel. And they walk away because it's built like a race car. And you can imagine, and Peter Thiel says to Musk, well, at least you have insurance. And he goes, no, I don't have insurance. And at that point, Thiel decides that he's going to do everything possible to get out of business with Elon Musk. And when Elon Musk gets married for the first time, he goes away unreachable for 2 weeks on his honeymoon, and they depose him from PayPal. And then he did, stuff like that. Tesla was... Tesla's basically a carbon credit company that makes cars. And I think, I just find it extraordinary. I'm here in Sweden, we're recording this. I can walk in 5 minutes to a not small parking lot that is full of Tesla charging stations. You go to Norway, they're everywhere. And the sovereign fund of Norway, which is vastly wealthy because of North Sea oil, they're a big investor in Tesla. And I just don't know how long that's going to be sustainable, given the social ethos here that, they really don't want to be making basically in-kind contributions to the Proud Boys.
Well, their stock has plummeted, I think 8% recently.
I think one way to look at that is Donald Trump isn't on the ballot, but Elon Musk is in the form of Tesla stock. So Tesla's it's just a tremendous weakness of Donald Trump's that he really can't bother to govern. And, just think about it, if Elon Musk wasn't there, just think about it. You've got a cabinet with basically, someone that the Russians consider an agent as head of national intelligence. You have weirdo RFK Jr. You have this, sort of boozed up guy, head of Secretary of Defense. You have Kash Patel, head of the FBI. And we're talking about Elon Musk. That's how weird Elon Musk is. It's bad if you walk into a party with that group and everybody leaves talking about how weird Elon Musk was. And that's once Musk splits, which is inevitable, I think. You have a full complement of horrible people to point out that they're really not an American mainstream.
Hey, it's Ken. Quick break to let you know we've got a Substack page for the Ken Harbaugh Show. If you want to make sure you never miss an episode, check it out. A lot of you already have. Thank you so much. And if you're able to, please subscribe. Every dollar goes back into the show to help with research, production, and reporting from places like Ukraine. None of this happens without your support. Thank you. Welcome to the resistance. So many have referred to this, as you did, as, well, you were criticizing the characterization of this as a political realignment. I agree with you and want to offer a maybe heterodox view that is exactly the opposite, that as bad as Trump is for the country, and he's even worse for places like Ukraine. I mean, I lay awake at night thinking about my friends there, that if our response is smart and strategic, it could be a realignment in the other direction, because for the first time in a very long time, Americans, maybe ever, Americans have had the chance to see in full view what Trumpism really is, because they are getting everything they want, and it's not what Americans want.
Yeah. There's a reason that they stayed away from Project 2025 like it was poison. And the fact now that the country's being forced to drink that poison has not made it go down any easier. Look, much is made by Republicans that Trump, expanded his non-white base. Okay. 85% of his vote was white. 24, it's 84%. 1 point every 4 years is going to take a while. They're celebrating that only 86% of African Americans voted against them, that only 63% of Asian Americans, that only 54% of Hispanics voted against them. The only group that supports Trump with a plurality is non-college educated whites, which is the most rapidly declining large demographic in the country. So Bush campaign 2000, it was around 60%. Now it's 38, 39, and less so after we finish today. Now, demographics aren't destiny, but they are if you don't do anything about it.
And that is a group that is likely to suffer as much as any other under Trump's program.
Probably more, probably the most. When I used to work for senators a lot, they would get attacked for earmarks. Somebody would run against them, And particularly in the South, where it's kind of bringing home the bacon was probably what that person ran on maybe 20 years ago or something. It was the easiest thing in the world to defend, because you go, okay, here's this swimming pool at the junior college. We cut that. Is that what you miss? Here's this water treatment plant. Here's this grant that went to your local police so they could buy a couple of new cars. So you want to cut all that? And the idea was, it's like losing weight. And the idea sounds good, but in the specifics, it's kind of painful. And it was a very easy pushback. we have a deficit because people like spending. And, I've never seen a poll that if you ask, do you think billionaires should pay more in taxes, it didn't test like 95 to the good. So I think of what's happened in Trumpism kind of like Pickett's charge. This is the high water mark. And I say that as, 7th generation Mississippian that had a lot of relatives in that. As someone named for Jeb Stewart. I don't think it gets higher. I don't think they get over the wall. Now, that's not to say that the Democrats can't screw it up. I actually think Harris ran a very good campaign. I don't buy this. I think if, we had woken up 2 days after the 2016 election and said, well, a woman was just defeated for president. There's clearly a lot of misogynist elements still latent in the country. But look, in 2024, we're going to run a black woman, and that's going to fix everything. I don't think we all would have said, oh, yeah, that's really going to fix it. And then this whole idea, okay, let's take the incumbent president. He resigns, he's running for re-election, then decides not to in July, and then somebody else. We should keep doing that. I don't think so. I don't think this is going to be something people are going to look back on. Well, that was smart. So I think Democrats have a much stronger bench than Republicans. I think there's every indication should be Democrats should have a very good midterm. And a Democrat ought to get elected president. You have to ask yourself, how long is it going to be Republicans will nominate someone who will aggressively assert that Joe Biden was a legally elected president in a fair election? It can't happen in 28, maybe 32.
It's a requirement right now. They have to toe the line on that. And
it's my theory is, calling it a theory makes it sound more grandiose. I wrote a piece about my old friend and client, Roger Wicker, senator from Mississippi, now chairman of the Armed Services Committee, right? I've known Roger. Roger and I were pages in Washington together. Our dads kind of came out of the same world and knew each other. Roger's dad was this larger-than-life figure as a circuit judge. Roger Wicker spent basically his career, more than anything else, dedicated to the building of NATO and American alliances. And yet here he ushers in Pete Hegseth. And when he could have killed it. He said, no, pick a normal conservative, and he didn't. And I think it's just an absolute tragedy. I wrote a piece about it for the New Republic, like, why? You just got reelected. You're worried about being primaried in 6 years? When, you're going to be like 79? Really? Why? I don't get it. My dad was an FBI agent for a while. The idea of Cash Patel, it's just.
And if we thought it couldn't get worse, now we have Dan Bongino. I'm afraid it's all a gift to us as much as it's going to hurt. We have to take advantage of it, and you at the Lincoln Project certainly are. Keep up the incredible work, and we should check again often.
All right, buddy. Love the show. Listen to it all the time. I love all the work you've done. So
thanks. I'll put a link to you said it was a New Republic article?
Yeah.
That just came out. I'll put a link to that in the show notes. Where else can people find you?
Well, I still have a latent account on Twitter, Stuart P. Stevens at Twitter, and the same on Blue Sky, which is, I haven't been posting a lot, but that is where I would post. And at Resolute Square also.
Of course.
Yeah.
Always. All right. We'll check in
again
soon.
All right. All the best.
Appreciate it.